Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Real Talk for Real Teens, hosted by Kim Creighton, or as she's known by the people who know her best, Mama C. The show where we uniquely combine the information teens need with the entertainment teens want.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to another week of Real Talk for Real Teens. I am Kim Creighton, your host of the show. I'm so excited to talk with you this evening because I have a little surprise for you. I have a co-host tonight, and her name is Caitlin, and I want her to, before I introduce the musical artist and the guest, I want my co-host to introduce herself to you.
Hi, guys. I'm Caitlin Kaminsky, and I'm from New Jersey. I look forward to tonight and hope you guys like it.
All right. Well, our guest tonight is Kim Cameron. She is, once the last Thursday of the month, I always bring my musical artist on the show to talk. So, Kim, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Kim Cameron. I'm the lead singer and songwriter for Side Effects, and I just came out with a children's book, my very first one, called Seaper Powers, that maybe we can talk about a little later on. And I have these hot new dance singles that are hitting the charts, so I'm in a pretty good mood.
Okay. Well, we like to hear that. So where would you like to start this conversation, Kim?
Well, I teach vocal lessons at the School of Rock here in the D.C. metro area. And so I kind of see everything from 7 years old all the way up to, I guess my oldest is 15.
Okay.
And, one of the things that obviously, because it's a music school, we talk about music a lot. And one of the things I thought would be fun to explore is how much of musical taste today in young people is really influenced by what their ears really like or what their parents really like, what they're listening to on the radio. That always is one of my kind of open questions, because when the kids come and they want to learn how to sing a certain song by a certain artist, it's not clear to me where the lines are. How much how much out there are we really forming our own opinions, or are we so influenced by others, whether it's our parents or our friends, that we're not really sure what we like?
Ooh, okay. That you're jumping right in. Okay, before we get started with that, I want to ask you, Kim, to speak clearly into your phone because there's some kind of something going on there. And Caitlin, you do the same. That is a big one because that is a major thing that I talk to young people about. Spend time figuring out who you are, what you value, and where your boundaries are.
Absolutely.
And exactly, because you can, that whole you don't know what you don't know because what you experience is what's around you. And
exactly.
so often we take that as to be what we like, who we are, what we know. And it's like, but no, it's not. It's what you don't know is, well, let me put it this way. What you know can fill a thimble compared to what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about that, Caitlin, as a young person?
Well, I agree with you. I think that's true. Like, people are still trying to figure out who you are, and as a teen, that's the time to find out what you like and who you want to be. And I do think that music is influenced by our parents and the way we grow up. How do you manage being a teacher and musician and author all at the same time? Because, that seems like a lot to handle.
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. And I actually have a couple more things that I could add to that plate. I do some voiceover work, not to mention that I am the writer of all of the Side Effects music, which we're now up to, let's see, 80 songs now, because we do some for, the band that we play out, and then the rest are for, NBC and ABC catalogs they've asked us to write for some of their TV shows. So I do those kinds of things as well, and I'm hugely challenged every day. The biggest problem I have, I think, Caitlin, is how do I, what do I do which day? Because you can't necessarily stop one job and then, say, okay, Mondays I can only work on all the record label activities, and you certainly can't do that with songwriting. Songwriting is all about, being creative and being inspired. And so there's definitely days where, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired, and I just drop everything, because those are very unique moments. And it's kind of true when it comes to writing books, is what I'm finding out. But then there's just sort of day-to-day activities, being on fun radio shows like this, and appearing on TV shows, and just because you get creative, you just have to figure out how to shut those things off to be able to do the other things. And then when you're in the teaching world, that's a completely different ballgame, because you really have to back up, and it doesn't really matter how old the person is, because they're learning something for the first time. So you really have to step back and say, okay, how do I teach them what I know? And so you're really putting them in a different circle. That's the best way I can kind of describe it. And they're all different facets, and they take all different mindsets, and I often get confused by them, especially if they're all colliding at once.
And I totally can empathize with that, because that's where I find myself being entrepreneur, former teacher, doing the things that I do in trying to assist young people. And Caitlin, that goes to the question I asked you this morning when we were talking, when I asked you, have you thought about the time it would take out of your schedule to be the co-host of this show? Because, honestly, we can't do everything at the same time. We can do what we need to do, but you have to know how to manage, bring certain things to the forefront and put some other things on the back burner, while, as you say, Kim, I'm so into that inspired thing. I have gotten to the point where I won't even touch it unless I'm inspired to do it, because I find that I'm wasting my time and my energy on that, because I'm forcing myself to say, okay, I need to get this done, and then nothing ever gets done when I could have been doing some mundane task and gotten that out the way. And then at some point I get inspired, and then
I couldn't agree more. There's a lot to be said, I think. People underestimate the power of inspiration, and that it's one of those where if somebody gets inspired and pick a subject, it could be, I want to write a song, I want to write a book, I want to draw a picture, I want to take pictures. It doesn't matter. But my advice to them, if they can right there, do it. And if you can't do it for some reason, make a note of it. Write down, or give yourself everybody's got their little cell phones and the voice recorders. Record what your thought is. Record what your idea is. Record what the song was in your head, and then go back to it, because you can get that inspiration back. But what you don't want to do is lose the idea, because our ideas are the most valuable.
I love that.
And that's what's really interesting, and that's what I try to say, what I've learned as an entrepreneur, and what I try to get young people to understand. When it comes to, particularly when we're talking about employment, there are only so many hours in a day. So there's only so many hours that, let's say you're on a job that they can work you. There are only so many hours. And if they can monetize those hours, there's a cap on what they're going to pay you for those hours, because they can always get somebody else to do those same hours for less. But ideas are endless. They have an endless possibility of what the monetary value or whatever value, it doesn't even be monetary, of what that is. And so I would rather earn my money by my idea than by the sweat of my brow any day.
your ideas are your intellectual property, and you just don't ever want to give those away or forget about those. And I think, what I've found is young people today, they really have some great ideas, but a lot of times they don't have the confidence to either express them or decide that idea is worth keeping. And, the worst thing that can happen is that your idea goes away, meaning you forget about it. That's the absolute worst thing. It's not that somebody says, oh, that's a stupid idea, because everybody is going to have somebody that says that's a stupid idea. But for every time you hear that's a stupid idea, you get about 5 other people that say that's a really good idea, or that's a really clever idea, or you should really try that. And those always outweigh the people that are going to be the naysayers.
And even if that idea is, I wouldn't call it stupid, but if you is not a wise, or when you, what you need to do is not only capture that idea, but follow up, because you may get to the end of it and say, that's not what I thought, oh, that's not what it, but you've learned something in the process of pursuing that idea.
My favorite.
Has gotten you that idea, and I want to take a break, your first break, and I want you to introduce your first song, and we'll come back to that. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that that idea and following that. So we're going to take our first break, and after the show break music, Kim, I want you to introduce your first song, Spinning Stars.
Okay.
Kim, you're going to introduce your song? Oops. I'm sorry. I put the wrong person on hold. See, that's what happens. Kim, introduce your song.
No problem. So speaking of ideas, Spinning Stars is all about the idea of being in a big city and just being in love with the nightlife. So this is all about 2 people, and the stars being all of the nightlife and all of the city lights around them.
Welcome back to Real Talk for Real Teens, hosted by Kim Creighton. To talk live on the air, call 347-539-5226.
I love that song, Kim. And I think we should mention that you're one of the Billboard Top 40 artists. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. It's my claim to fame, and maybe I'll get others, but that's my claim to fame so far.
How did you get started in the music field? Like, what made you want to get into it?
Well, I've always been in music. I started out learning by learning the clarinet. It was not my first instrument choice, but back when you're in second grade and you have the small orchestra music teachers, they always like to have a well-balanced room, and I really wanted to learn how to play the flute, but they had already had enough people playing the flute, so I got stuck with the clarinet, and I did all sorts of marching band, and I played clarinet for years and years and years, very proficient. But I also loved singing because I also did, choir and musicals and things like that. So ever since I can remember, I've been involved in some flavor of music. And by the time I hit high school, I had I'd formed a cover band. And we were really bad, but it was okay. It was really fun. And then we went, then we all went off to college, and I kind of took a little hiatus from that just so that I could, stop goofing off so much and learn other things. And then as soon as I got out of college, I was desperate to find some musicians because I had missed, just the 4 years that I was away from. And I shouldn't say I was away from music. I was away from rock music. I was actually involved with a couple of different huge choirs that had published, were very famous in the Midwest and had, published lots of albums. And so that was my first publishing experience, actually. But you're one of many voices, and I missed that whole kind of rock scene, and got some folks together and was in another cover band for years and years and years until I got to a point in my life where there were two things that happened. And one was that I had a brother-in-law who had cancer, a cancer that was in a not-so-great place near his liver, and so he had to have a very delicate operation, and if they had punctured his liver at all, he would have died. But they had to remove it. And so it was a very kind of tough weekend, and I ended up writing my first song that weekend about him. And at the same time, I had, and it wasn't that same weekend, but it was around that same time period, I'd had a dear friend of mine who said to me, Kim, you're changing. And he didn't mean that in a nice way. He meant that in a really, you're really becoming a hard person. And what I found was I was so miserable working at my job, and that I had become a person that I'm not, and kind of unfriendly and kind of grumpy. And I just took a deep look at myself, and I said, I just don't want to be that person. That's not who I am. And so music was a natural place for me to go back to, and I decided right then that I wanted to do my own original project, and I wanted to dive back into music full time. And so that's how I got started.
Mm-hmm. I think you made the right decision, too, because I was looking at your YouTube channel, and you have millions of views, so I guess you could say that you did the right thing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Isn't that crazy? The YouTube stuff is just insane to me. I don't even understand it, And there's no rhyme or reason as far as I can tell as to which videos people like more than others. And if I could, I would do those kind of videos all the time, but I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah. What advice do you have for young people who want to be as successful as you?
Well, what I tell people at at the school I teach is a couple things. One is practice, 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 whatever it is that you want to know how to do. So if you want to learn how to write songs, write all the time. And practice always makes perfect. If you want to sing all the time because it strengthens.
My band director said, "Perfect practice makes perfect."
Exactly. And be committed, right? So the commitment is really tough in the music industry because it's, first of all, it's a very crowded industry, especially now, and it's really easy to get rejected. Especially if you're going to do any kind of originality to anything, even if you're doing a cover song but you want to add your own artistic flair to it, people are really quick to judge the arts. And instead of, sitting back thinking how difficult that must be to really put yourself out there and to really do something that is different and not like everything else, it's tough because you're just, as an artist, whatever type of artist you are, you're just looking for somebody to pay attention to what you did and give you positive feedback. Doesn't mean they have to say, I love it, but take the time to really say, I think you're doing the right thing. You might want to think about doing X or Y. And so being committed, regardless of the negative feedback you get, is really important.
Yeah. And I want to jump now to your book. Oh, sorry.
Hold on, wait a minute, just a second, Caitlin, because what I wanted to bring up is you mentioned the YouTube thing, and you mentioned that there is no rhyme or reason. Everybody's trying to get the next viral video. But you also just mentioned the point of, the criticism, and you hope it to be constructive criticism or, in lieu of praise if they're not even have that. And it's so easy when you're saying those anonymous people. It's so easy to, and I think Kim just got disconnected, but it's so easy to I'm sorry, who's on the line? Is this Caitlin?
I'm here. I'm right here.
Oh, it's you. Okay, so Caitlin just got disconnected. Okay, yeah, it's so easy to be anonymous.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Caitlin
I'm trying to call Caitlin.
Is
Okay,
not
you back?
available. At the tone, please record your message.
Hello?
When you have finished recording,
All right, she'll call back. It's so easy for people to be anonymous and say things that they wouldn't say in front of you, and you have to learn, particularly if you're an artist and you're putting your stuff out there, to be okay with that.
Yeah, you really need to develop some pretty thick skin if you're going to go into the arts field. I think that's true. I mean, I have quite a few actor friends, and their life experiences are very similar to mine because, again, they're putting themselves out there, doing something unique, doing something different, and people are the first to say, oh, well, I really like the movie, but I couldn't stand Sharon on, the way she was acting, or the way, we're all so quick to judge so quickly.
Oh, and because I upload the shows to YouTube, and someone put something on something, and I was like, wow, that was very interesting, but not helpful. So I just deleted it. It's like if this show is for young people, and if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And it's interesting how, yes, we all have opinions and we all have whatever, but I'm going to put a period on that. Yes, we all have that. Everybody's opinion just doesn't matter at every time, and that's what people need to understand. And I definitely see that when I'm working with. I know it happens with older people, but I could care less about them. I don't work with older people. I work with young people. So I really try to get young people to understand that. Is that, yes, you have an opinion, and yes, you can be angry or feel whatever you're feeling, but what you don't have a right to do is be an asshole to other people. That's what you don't have a right to do. That's just not going to happen.
Well, it's true. It's and I think the biggest critics are the ones that have never tried anything.
Oh my God. Yes. I was thinking that same thing today. I was like, it's so easy to say what's wrong or have an opinion about something when you're not putting yourself out on the line.
Exactly.
So much easier to do that. So we're going to take our next break, and your next song is Not Into You. So I'm going to see if, while we're doing that, I'm going to see if I can get Caitlin back on the line. For some reason, her call dropped. Maybe something happened with her phone. So while you're doing that, I'm going to try to get her back.
No problem. So
all right.
Not Into You is a great, it's just hitting the charts right now. We're at like 210.
All right, let me get that started.
Follow us on Facebook at Real Talk for Real Teens and on Twitter at RTFRT Radio. Welcome back to Real Talk for Real Teens, hosted by Kim Creighton. To talk live on the air, call 347-539-5226.
Welcome back, guys. We're continuing the conversation we have with Kim Cameron, and our co-host tonight is Caitlin.
So fun to be on this show. I mean, you guys just kind of cover everything. And Caitlin, I have, if this is okay, I have a question actually for you.
Okay.
So the song we just heard is about a friend of mine who dates a lot, but he just can't fall in love, can't, get past I kind of like this person, and it has been going on for years. Is that something that you see a lot?
Not really. I mean, I personally wouldn't keep dating somebody if I didn't fall in love with them, because I wouldn't do that. I don't know.
Do people, do they kind of date just because they like hanging out with each other, or do you have to be fully committed these days?
I know people who do both. I would be fully committed. I wouldn't just date to date. I would want to know the guy first before I did anything.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's a good question.
Well,
because I'm kind of on. Go ahead, Kim.
I'm with her. That's how I am too. But he definitely doesn't have that mindset.
And it's funny because I'm kind of the opposite. Definitely I'm not going to say the opposite, but definitely at Caitlin's age, I really encourage young people to date a lot. And that does not mean that you need to have sex with a lot. That is not what I'm saying, people. But there's so many. Again, that goes back to, I'm going to bring this conversation back around, that goes back to, for me, being in the car with your parents' music and you like it because that's what's played on the radio and they won't let you touch the dial.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different kinds of people out there. And I think being young is a great time to just be, because you're just, as Caitlin said earlier, you're just starting to figure out who you are. And I just it really, and I was going to say bothers me because I've let that go now, but it really bothered me to see a whole bunch of young people living as married people but don't have the benefits of being married.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I have with young people. Now, as you get older, I believe in, when you're in something, be in it all the way, see it through whether it works or not, and be completely honest with the person you're with. But young people are really, I have an issue with them getting so vested so early and so deeply in something that, honestly, when you graduate, you may never see this person again.
Until those high school reunions come back to haunt you.
I mean, and that goes the same thing when I talk to them about their friends. They get so, it's like, okay, it didn't, you tested it out. They didn't turn out to be the greatest friend that you thought they were. And it's painful because but get in there, try it out, and see what it is. But I just really have I don't want to say I take issue. I just encourage young people, because I know young people get in there and they really love each other right at the beginning. And I don't want to sound old-fashioned. That was great back in the 50s when you stayed in the community that you stayed in. But nowadays, these young people have the advantage of actually living anywhere in this world. And I want them to be open to that adventure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think that I think there's an unwritten rule as to what that commitment is, and I think that there needs to be some lines of gray in what that means. I think you can, as a young person, date somebody and say you're committed dating that person without saying, but you know what, if after a week, this isn't fun anymore, then, we shake hands and we're friends. And,
Exactly.
I'm good with that.
Exactly. But then I look at the adults in our world and how many of them can actually do that.
I haven't met any.
Well, no, you take that back. You have. I am close friends with most of my exes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I am close friends. I speak regularly to at least one of them once a week.
That's impressive.
If it's just through a text or I'm doing something, they're doing something, they send me an email just to let me know what they're doing. Yeah, I really do. I mean, because I'm just different. If I've loved you, I've loved you, and nothing's gonna change that. I don't want anything to change that. Just because we're not together anymore, you may have gotten on my nerves, or I realize, what, we're going in two different directions, and we can't make this merge. We can't make this, but I still love you. You've taken up some space in my heart, and it's always going to be your space.
I'm impressed. I don't think I'm that big of a person.
Well, for me, it's not. I don't even think it's that I'm that big of a person. It's just how I view life. I try to see everything as an experience to learn from. So trust me, it didn't happen overnight. It did not happen overnight. So some of those young men that I dated in college, oh my God, I would never want to see them again. But that was just because it was just really toxic. We shouldn't have been together anyway. All that was oh, you're cute. I'm not doing anything. Hey, that kind of thing. There was really no basis for us to be together. But when I was really in a relationship, committed, I can say there are very few guys that I don't speak to anymore. Or if they called, I'd be like, oh, why are you calling me?
Yeah, I guess the ones I wouldn't have a problem speaking to any of my exes. I don't think they want to talk to me.
So we're gonna leave that as something personal with you. I won't dive any deeper into that, Kim. I'm gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, Caitlin, that's one of the things that I really like your peers. Do you see that they are really committed in their relationships, or and there's the opposite. Even if you're like I said, you're dating other people, there's a level. If you can do that and be honest, that's different from doing something and then doing things behind people's backs.
Yeah, I see it. I don't know. I kind of stay away from it because we're still young and, we don't know what we're doing yet, and we're going to see them because when college comes, no one's really going to talk to each other as much as they talk to each other now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't put myself out there like that.
Yeah. And that's what I try. I mean, because I know a lot of young people, and I'm just, it's like, okay, all right, can y'all, does he have to come with you everywhere? Does he,
yeah, that bothers me.
I mean, and it just, it's not that it bothers me in the sense of it that it's just that whole thing of this is the time for you to really, it's safe, you're in your parents' home, for you to really figure out who you are. It's a safe environment for you to practice, for you to really figure out who you are, for you to make some mistakes in a safe environment, and all you're doing is spending all of your time with this one person.
Yeah. I don't like that when my friends do that. I'm like, can't you just, go somewhere without him? I want to spend time with you, not him.
I'm with you. I didn't like that when my friends did that either. That drove me crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like they lose I can't even say they lose their identity because they haven't spent any time developing their identity. So they just get lost in the shadow. Be it a girl or a boy, they get lost in the shadow of this relationship. This relationship becomes this thing on its own. It becomes this third entity. And neither one of them have anything beyond that. And then they're completely devastated when it doesn't turn out the way they wish it, be it by distance or be it by, somebody met somebody else and they decided they liked somebody else, and now people are lying and they're doing all these things that are just taking up so much energy.
Yeah.
Well, I know Caitlin wants to ask you some questions about the book, so go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay. I know you just released a children's book. Why did you decide to write a children's book versus for an adult or a teen?
Well, because everything always comes back to music, I'll tell you how this came about. In November, I was on tour in the Caribbean, which was the best thing in the whole world. And I met this little girl who was 12 who happened to come there with her parents, and she came about 3 nights in a row. And somehow, I'm not sure how, but during one of our breaks, we started talking to them, and I think she was eating octopus. And we were all, taken back because here's a 12-year-old. I mean, she was eating, just loved it. Oh, my gosh, and that became a topic of conversation. And so anytime she was around, we would incorporate the word octopus into some of our songs just because we were having fun with it. And my guitar player and I sat on the beach one afternoon while we were in the Caribbean, and I said, there's something here. We ought to kind of do a children's song about an octopus. And so we wrote a song while we were on tour called Mr. Octopus. And when we got back, I said, I want to use one of the little girls that I've been coaching and subsequently have signed to my record label to sing on part of it because I think it would just add a really nice vibe to it. And so she sang it, and we said, okay, now what do we do with this song? My guitar player says, you ought to write a story about it. And while he didn't necessarily know what he was suggesting, between the two of us, I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. I'm going to write a story, really transform the story into the story of the song into the book. And our intent was that it would just be an audio book with a song included. And then as we developed it, we realized we could, once you do the audio book, which is really hard to do, then you have to have the words anyway. So we just did both paper bound as well as the ebook and the audio book. Now, personally, I like the ebook the best because we went totally overboard, and we said, well, if we're going to do a children's book, we got to make it really interesting on audio, so we got to add original music and sound effects, and we have to have multiple voices, not knowing, of course, how much work was really involved. 3 months later, this 1-hour audio book is done, but I will tell you it was a lot of man hours to do it. And, as soon as we're done, I'm not kidding, within 3 weeks, my guitar player says, well, you have to start writing the sequel. I said, you've got to be kidding me. I just finished this thing. He says, no, but you got to start it now because, he says, really, we should be releasing 1 to 2 of these a year.
Oh, wow.
So I've already been tasked to write the sequel, which I committed I would get it done this summer. Of course, I have not started, but that is how this whole book process started. And, now I'm on book tour, which I did my first one this past week, which was great fun, and I incorporated puppets, which I had never done puppets before. And that was fun and stressful at the same time. I mean, I have a new appreciation for puppeteers, let me tell you.
All right, we're going to take our next break, and we're going to listen to Kim's We've Got the Rhythm.
And this one comes from, I write my songs in my office for the most part, and I overlook the Potomac River. And every morning, even when it's freezing outside, you will see the Georgetown crew doing their practice runs on the river. And so this song is a love for the crew and how it feels like to be a team. So it's called We've Got the Rhythm.
Watching from the tree, how the tears around
unknown music artists, we need you for the show. If you'd like your own mini concert, please send a request for information to realtalkforrealteens@gmail.com.
All right, welcome back, guys. Believe it or not, we only have 10 minutes left.
Wow.
Well, we don't even have that. We have about 6 minutes left because we still have to play Kim's last song. Yeah, I told you it goes by quickly.
It does.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, how would you like to end this? Well, one question I would like to ask Kim before you I want you to wrap it up for us, Caitlin. But one question I want to, one piece of, and I try to ask this, Kim, what one piece of advice do you wish someone had given you that you would like to give young people that you wish someone had given you?
Pick a passion and make it not only your own, but just stay with the passion. I wish I had, when it comes to music, I wish I had taken on a couple more instruments, and if I'd really gotten, pushed to do so, I would have. It would have just given me a pretty good perspective on, different elements that right now I understand, but there's something to be said if I had, right now I'm doing keyboards, but gosh, it would have been great if I had a little more understanding on percussion and a little more understanding on guitar and, a couple more. Not that I had to be proficient, but it would have been great if somebody had just pushed me and said, music is your thing, stick to it, make it your passion, and just go as far as you can.
Yeah. I wanted to end it with how down-to-earth you are. I know that you donate to many VA hospitals and support veterans. Thank you for that. It's nice to see how you're down to earth still as a celebrity and that didn't affect you in a negative way.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, that is a big passion of mine. These guys and gals, they've, given their life to us, and they've made us all safe. And whenever I'm given the opportunity to help out with any kind of organization that supports our veterans, I'm right there. I'm first in line. I mean, it is, it makes no difference what I'm doing unless what I'm doing can help them in some way. And the greatest concerts I've ever done have been the ones when I went to on tour with to the VA hospitals, and I went to about 13. And there's no better experience than meeting a nurse from World War II or a vet who got shot in the head and showed me his metal plate that was still remaining because it passed right through. And these guys are just great, and they're so thankful to, have you come in and perform for them, and it's just, they're the best audience, and it just makes you feel, they give me more than I'm giving them.
Yeah, it's awesome you do that.
It is great fun.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go. Sorry.
No. Don't apologize. Did you have something else to say?
Well, I was going to ask, Kim, what your last project is going to be. Like,
what is my last?
Well,
I am working on the side on co-producing a reality show, really about kids who are learning how to become musicians. So it's young in the process. We've put out a trailer, which is actually on my YouTube channel, so it'll give you a flavor of what it's going to be about. But that will be my next project. It kind of is my project right now, but we're in the process of starting filming, so it's at a lull, thank goodness. But it will pick up
so maybe
in the
start
fall.
On that sequel.
Exactly.
Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you, Cameron, for coming on the show. We've had a great time. I want to thank you, Caitlin, for coming on as my co-host tonight.
Well, thank you. It was fun.
And I'm going to say I want you to introduce your last song, and I'm going to say goodnight.
Fantastic. last song is called A Little Bit in Love, and this is, you're not quite sure that you've fallen in love, but you definitely are, way beyond just liking somebody, but you don't know exactly what to call it, and you can feel yourself like tipping, it's almost like a bucket. It's like you're just about falling out of the bucket. You're full of water, but you're just not ready or willing to let yourself fall out of the bucket. So it's just, you're just a little bit in love.
All right, with that, I'll say good night, Kim, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, guys.
Watching from the door, I always wanted more than we were forget-me-nots dancing in the wind. Now I'm leaving a bouquet of memories where nothing is real, nothing is real. We were just there to be, we were just there to be. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. And I'm just wondering, do you miss the sin of seduction? I'm just wondering, do you see colors of passion? And I'm just wondering, do you still taste desire when nothing is real, nothing is real? We were just there to be, we were just there to be. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Your intensity is killing me. Shut up and kiss me. Your intensity is killing me. Shut up and kiss me. I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love. Yes, I'm afraid, so afraid that I'm a little bit in love.
Thank you for listening, and please join us each and every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern for more Real Talk for Real Teens.